Hey everyone, Kyle with Dads and Angels Outdoors doing a tech review and gear review of the Gearak Bino harness. I first heard about the Gearak Bino harness through the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast where Adam did a brief review of the harness as he's heading out west to go hunt elk. Now this year I'm definitely not going out west to hunt elk. It's hopefully next year or the year after with Braden, but I did need a bino harness for a couple other different outdoor activities, and I needed the most versatile one that I could find. And I researched and I saw the Bighorns and the Vortex. None of them had as much of a modular system. They were all just all-in-one systems that you had to, if you didn't need those certain pockets, you were stuck with them, and that's all you could really do. And while they could compress down, doing certain things, they could potentially get in your way. When I saw the Gearak products online, I reached out to them and said, listen, this is what I'm going to be doing with the harness. Tell me if this will work. And he said, absolutely, let's send you out the entire system and you try it out and send us a video back and see how it goes. So that's what I did. Now, there's a couple different things that I want to use the bino harness for. The obvious is hunting. And while it is a bino harness and it's going to fit your pretty fair-sized binoculars with the neck straps in here, there are a couple other things that I wanted to be able to store in there. Like I said, I'm not necessarily a western hunter, not yet, hopefully soon. I hunt in the Midwest, which means I hunt out of tree stands and we have to truck that in, or I hunt out of a blind that we also have to backpack in. The last couple of years, one of the restrictions that I found with that was that I couldn't necessarily wear a backpack, and unless I modified my climber stand or the bag that carried my pop-up blind, I really had a hard time. It was really cumbersome carrying everything around in a backpack kind of slung over one shoulder, a bow over the other. And I kind of struggled a little bit getting through quietly, and who knows if I would have kicked something up or not, and I may have even lost the opportunity on something. So as time went on, I was looking for a harness, and it's for some sort of gear rig of some kind. And when what I told you before, I saw this on the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast, and I wanted to give it a try. So definitely for hunting season, this is going to be my primary carry of everything that I have. I don't need binoculars out in the Midwest here. I don't hunt long flat land. We don't do any running and gunning here really. I need a rangefinder. That's the most optic that I actually need. So this is going to contain my GPS. It's going to have my extra releases and any other little item that I might need that I don't have to necessarily attach to a bag on top of my tree stand and be lugging that around and maybe bounce that off the tree stand or anything like that. And that's just in the bino system here. Now if you look to my right here, you'll see the larger of the two side accessory pouches, which opens and closes with a elastic draw, which is really nice. And then on the other side, there's like a smaller zipper pouch as well. And if you look, attached to the bat wing of my bag is the smaller of the two accessory pouches. So you can see I've taken these things off on, moved them all different ways. And that's just, this is just really going to be my setup for this chest part, not necessarily the backpack part, but this is going to be my setup for hunting this year. Now, there were other activities that I need to use this harness for, so that's why I needed the modular system. This year I competed in the Train to Hunt event, which if you haven't done it and you haven't thought about it, I really suggest you do it. Kent and Claremont and them put on a great event, and it's all over the US, and if you qualify for nationals, it's a great opportunity to really show everyone what you're made of. So that being said, you need a really good harness of some kind, and you need something to be able to carry at the very least your rangefinder during the challenge course, and then a good bino harness for the 3D course. Now for the challenge course, what I'll be doing is carrying the smaller of the two accessory pouches connected to the bat wing of my bag. This bag actually bolts onto another external frame, so we use the same bat wing, and that's going to hold my rangefinder for the challenge course, which usually contains 2 to 3 different 3D targets that you have to do on top of a 50-pound pack out if you're in the open division. For the 3D course, I'll be using it just like this. I'll be having the bino harness, which is probably going to hold my rangefinder and my binoculars. Binoculars here, rangefinder here, and then any of my emergency accessory kit. So extra field tips in case any rattle off, my extra releases, and then just your pen, your paper for keeping score on the course. But that wasn't the only event that I needed this for. Doing that event this year is what made me realize this is a system that I needed. This year I also competed in the Red Bull Archer's Paradox, where There was no pack out, so you got to use a much lighter bag, but I wanted to use something that I could pop open, grab my rangefinder out. Did not need the binoculars, but I kept the rangefinder in here. Range and shoot. Everything, it was a mile race with 8 targets in between, so there was a lot of good in and out, so I needed a nice solid bag. And you can see this one, it does not lose its structural integrity when you take everything out of it. It's still nice and stiff. That being said, those are the adventure races that I had done with this. Now, there were a couple other things that I actually found that I used it for once I got the product that I didn't even know that I needed it for. Taking the dog to the dog park or taking the dog out to the trails, I have the dog on a Garmin wireless leash. So I was actually able to put any of the dog treats, any of my cell phone, the water or anything like that in these pouches, and then keep the Garmin remote right in the side elastic pouches. So that's just another testament to how versatile this product really is. And again, I can't really say enough about how modular this system is, because I don't have everything onto the chest rig system. I have some onto the bat wing here, so you can take on and off, and it's a MOLLE system. So if you have any type of MOLLE straps on your bag, if it's not a full MOLLE bag, you have some sort of strap on, at the very least, your bat wing. You should be able to put these accessory pouches onto that. And maybe you don't even need the Bino harness. Maybe you just need the accessory pouch. But they're very, very awesome. They're incredible accessory pouches. On top of that, they send you some of the elastic cords, really small, lightweight, and not very noisy. If you click the 2 carabiners together, it will make some noise, but if you attach it to the bag, nothing. So you're not gonna be rattling around. That's great for holding on to any of your accessories, particularly your binoculars and your rangefinder. So, one question that I had when I had gotten this, and we talked about it a little earlier, was, will this fit a DSLR? And I had asked Adam that on Instagram. I messaged him, and that's when Gearak reached out to me and said, it won't necessarily fit a DSLR here, but we have a system that you can use. So, we'll get to that in a second. Now, as far as carrying a DSLR with this system is concerned, it's not going to fit the full DSLR, even if you're using a crop sensor. I use a Nikon D5300. It's not the biggest camera, it's also not the smallest camera, but assembled will not fit in here. If you're using a mirrorless camera that has its own zoom built in, or a smaller lens attached to a mirrorless camera, then it certainly will fit in to this Bino part here, or maybe even one of the accessory pouches. But for those of us who want to use a DSLR, they want to take some video, and they want to take some really good pictures, this is what you'll have to do. Now, the larger of the 2 accessory pouches will certainly fit. This is a Sigma 18 to 250 zoom lens. So this is a pretty fair size lens, and I kept the lens hood flipped out just so you can see the full-on size of it, about the width of my head here. So, and I got a pretty big noggin. That will slide directly in here into the larger of the 2 accessory pouches and completely close up, with the exception of a little bit of a gap on the top of the material that, you know, kind of covers the top of it. But that will fit and protect your zoom lens, which you've probably spent a pretty penny on. Then what you would just do is, with your DSLR, you'll put the cover on it minus the lens, or with a smaller lens on it if you have a pancake lens, and you just slip it right into here in the Bino harness. This works for the Midwest guys who are on the hunts where they don't need binoculars. If you need binoculars, you may have to get creative. The DSLR will actually fit into this larger compartment as well, so you may have to purchase an additional one when you make your purchase from Gearak. So the last and final question that I had about this product was, how well will it withstand a lot of jerking around, a lot of running, a lot of just, you know, agility type stuff. Like I said, I was doing the adventure races, and I needed something that was going to stay nice and close to my body. I set this up in training, so I ran 10 to 11 times with this over 3 and 4 miles, uphill, downhill. Wore it at the gym, doing the sled pushes and everything. It's still in the same spot. That being said, this is still in the same spot after I raced yesterday. And this is what it looked like yesterday. Okay, so I just finished round 1 of the Red Bull's Archer's Paradox with the Gearak Bino harness. So I'm using it a little different than just for a Bino harness. What I'm using it for is for my rangefinder, for ranging all 8 targets going up and downhill. The reason why I stuck with this one was because it holds it straight to your body and it's nice and tight, and I went uphill and downhill for a mile and this thing did not move at all, even with weight in it. And you can see from the side, it started right here and it ended right here. So you can even tell from my face, I literally just got done with my run now, and I was booking it on that run. So through training, through everything, nothing has slipped, nothing's going side to side at all. Everything is right here. Certainly not least, the straps for the harness. It comes with the regular straps that have the nice big Gearak logo on the back, and they're both, and then a regular black strap that just straps around in the same fashion, just doesn't have that mesh padding in the back. I prefer the bigger one with the logo. It just feels a little more comfortable, but you can switch them in and out, and it's it's a really seamless system that they give you. Lastly, you're probably wondering why I left these straps, if you can see them, a little bit loose. There was a lot of standing around yesterday, and so what I found was that if I pull it out a little bit, and I was experimenting around with it, I can actually put my hands together like this and really just kind of give my arms a rest as I'm sitting around. That's it with regard to the Gearak product review for the Bino harness. I thank you for listening, and stay tuned for more videos, both of hopefully some gear and some tech reviews, but definitely some hunting videos coming soon from this hunting season with me and Braden. Have a nice day.